Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. So today is part 3 of our webinar series covering the recent announcement of Microsoft Project Online going into retirement on the 30th of September 2026. So less than a year away. The last 2 sessions, session 1, we covered the scheduling side of things, so comparing Microsoft Project Online to Microsoft Planner, in particular Microsoft Planner Premium Schedules. Part 2, which was on Wednesday, we took a look at the wider Microsoft PPM functionalities available with Planner, but also the Power Platform. And we spoke about how we can utilize the Microsoft Power Platform to extend the functionality of what you get with Planner out of the box to fill the gaps with things like risks, issues, timesheets, all that good stuff. For today's session, though, we will be focusing on the migration side of things. So actually migrating from Project Online to the new world with Planner and the Power Platform. We will be taking you through what that migration actually looks like and showing you some hopefully very useful examples of how the practical migration works of moving from Project Online to to Planner and the Power Platform. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. I believe the Q&A functionality is also enabled, and we should have 5-10 minutes at the end to answer any questions. So pop them in, and then we'll get back to you towards the end. Wonderful. So we will move straight into the migration side of things, and I will hand over to Ollie.
Brilliant. Thank you, Charlie. Cool. So yeah, just going to start sharing my screen over here, and we will start on this page here. So yeah, as Charlie mentioned, what we're going to do, essentially just going to actually go through an example of migrating a project and a couple of risks, issues and resources and things like that from Project Online into the new world. Obviously, a lot of the time people think with migration, it's going to take 2 months to do it. A lot of that time, if it does take 2 months, is probably spent actually just planning the stuff. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about some of the key considerations and everything towards the back end of the session. But yeah, for now we'll kind of dive straight into it. And obviously, as you can see, hopefully on the screen here, I have Project Online already open. So from here, I'll just go to Project Center. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects within this system, so not a whole load of stuff. You can see here from kind of the first column that a couple of them have got risks and issues and things like that, and we will look to migrate all of those across. But yeah, what we're going to do, basically just walk through what we need to do within Project Online to kind of get the data out. And then also what it looks like putting that in. So first things first, I'm just going to drill down into this Cloud AI deployment project. So I'm going to use this one just as an example throughout the session of kind of what we need to pull in. So with this project here, what do we actually need to consider when we're looking at the migration? Obviously, first things first, the schedule. Okay, we want to pull out the schedule, the tasks, everything like that we actually have within the project, and import that into the new world. The other side of things is obviously all of the project level information. So background info, any RAGs or health fields you have, what's in scope, out scope, project description, etc. Okay, so that's some of the other stuff that we'll potentially want to pull out for each and every project. Okay, so there's two parts to this actual project record itself. Risks, issues, and everything like that we'll look at shortly as well. But yeah, we'll focus on this project for now. Okay, so when we're looking at the schedule, that's the first thing that we're going to actually want to migrate. So here, I'm obviously looking at it in the browser. What we'll need to do is actually open this schedule up within Microsoft Project Desktop. So obviously that's something that Project Online allows us to do natively out of the box. I have it open over here. So this is that Cloud AI deployment project. And the first thing we need to do is actually save it down locally. So we need to save it to our computer, desktop, OneDrive, wherever we want to put it. But essentially, if I go to File, Save As, I can then put this wherever I need to. So I'm just going to go browse. It's going to ask me, do I want to download it with all of the enterprise custom fields or just specifically loaded ones? Leave it as it is, just hit OK. And essentially, this is just taking that copy of wherever I want to put it. Here it is, webinar. This is just taking that copy of the MPP, the actual project schedule, down to my desktop. Okay. I've already downloaded it. You can see I downloaded it 4 hours ago this morning. So so that's already ready to go. So I don't need to hit save. But yeah, first step with the schedule is just download it. Okay. Once I've got it downloaded, that's kind of all we need to do within MSP. Obviously, with that, we can go through other projects and download them if we're importing them as well. And then we've got that out. Okay. So exported the schedule. With regards to all of the project detail, so all of this kind of background info and everything like that, any rags, we'll come back onto this in a minute, but I'm just going to focus on the schedule and look to kind of show you how we can get that imported. Now, if we were kind of looking at a third-party system which wasn't Microsoft, trying to import an MPP can sometimes be a bit tricky if there's no kind of native import functionality. Luckily, because all of the new world is still obviously Microsoft, got it open here, I'll just jump into it. We can actually just directly import a .mpp file, so a Microsoft project file, into the new world. So this is no longer Project Online. This is kind of the new side of things, so Planner, Premium, and the Power Platform. I'm looking at my list of projects. You'll see that Cloud AI deployment is missing. I do, however, have the other ones. And I can just click these 3 dots up here and import, with the ability here to import from MPP. Okay. You see there, project desktop. If I select that, it will come up with a little pop-up. If I don't click it twice, there we go. On here, choose my file. I'll click that. There it is. Select it, hit open, and that's that done. All I need to do then is click import. Now that's then going to go away, do its thing. It says project importing has started. You'll be notified when it's complete. Okay, that's great. Let it do its thing. With this, if we need to, we can look to do it on bulk, but generally, depending on how much there is to migrate, and we'll talk a bit about this, like I said, towards the end of the demonstration, we can just do it individually. Now, what that's actually done here is it's pulled my project in. You can see it, Cloud AI deployment project. We've got it now. Go back to my projects list, and we can see that added in here. Okay, so if I drill down into there, what we'll notice is obviously there's a whole load of fields and kind of information which hasn't been populated. Okay, specifically if I go to my narratives tab, again, all of these are blank. All right, so going to the plan tab, that's what's been imported. It's imported my schedule. I have the same task, same start date, finish date, duration, etc., as we had within Microsoft Project. So that's one part of it. The second part is actually pulling in all of this information here. Okay, so we'll take a look at that now. But just to recap that, importing from Microsoft Project, export it from Project Online, save it locally, and then simply just import from MPP. That will pull in your project plan. When we're talking about the data, again, fairly straightforward, but we essentially utilize the ability to import from Excel. Now, just jumping back to Project Online, what we can do is if we take a look at Project Center, obviously this is a list of all of the columns which I have within here. Okay, shown within this view. Now, depending upon kind of what columns you have configured within Project Online, you may want to kind of modify some of these views, and then what we can simply do at the top is export it to Excel. There are some limitations with that, whereby, for example, you can't really pull multi-line text fields through. So what we typically advise, and these are available straight out of the box from Microsoft, and they're provided with Project Online. So if you're currently on Project Online, you should have access to these. If you don't, obviously we can provide it as part of any migration, which we're looking to do. But I'm just going to pull over a very simple Excel report, which I have. Okay. Now, this is currently linked in to Project Online. If I come up here, go to connections, we can see that we've got the Project Online or OData projects selected. Any changes which I make in Project Online are going to be reflected in here. And what I can do with this is very simply come into here, and I've got all of my fields which I have within Project Online. simply just add it into an auto refreshing report. Likelihood is, if you're using Project Online, you probably have something already similar to this, which you use for various reports and things. But essentially what I have here is the data in Excel. Now, from this will essentially make everything that we're about to do a whole lot easier. So I'm just going to take that to one side for now and jump into the new system once again. So how do we get that data from Excel into here? Well, what we first need to do is make sure the columns line up. So currently here, I've got project ID, name, program, project manager, start date, finish date. Those columns are different to what we have within Excel. So again, this is a one-off thing that I need to do as part of the migration. I don't need to do this for every project. I can essentially come in, and we did mention on, I think, Monday's webinar that you actually have the ability as an end user to modify the columns in your views. I can remove anything which isn't relevant, and I can also add things such as the background information, the description column, the business case column, etc. Okay, and I can add these in and reorder them to match Excel. Now, just to save a bit of time within this webinar, I've actually already done this. So if I look to change the view, I've got this one down here called import view. Now it's got a little kind of silhouette icon next to it. That indicates that it's a personal view that I have created. Only I can see this. I do have the ability to share it with other people if I wish. But yeah, for now, it's just available to me. And you can see we've got name, description, background info, benefits, etc. Now, all of these columns exist within Project Online, and you can have as many columns on here as you want to. Okay. Once that's done, what we then have the ability to do, and as we're going through this session, I'll show you the very similar thing for risks, issues, and any other control logs, but I can actually come in and open that data in Excel Online. And you can see here now, it's given me essentially just an Excel sheet. You can probably see exactly where I'm going with this. I have my Excel data linked to Project Online here. I can simply highlight everything that we've got, copy that with Control C, come into here, Control V to paste it. Let's put it against all of these, okay? And then from that, I can simply hit save. Now, what that will do, essentially go away, and assuming this all works swimmingly, which will be a miracle if it does, what it should do is essentially just pull that data in, okay? It comes up with a little pop-up, data submitted for import. It does a whole load of validation checks just to make sure that things like date values are valid. If we've got things like drop-downs within the system, that they are, set to a correct value. But with this, I can then track the progress. I can see that it's 5 things are being processed and successfully imported 5 things. There's been no errors, no partial failures. And now if I just come in and refresh this page, you can see there all of my projects now have that data pulled in. I can then jump back to my All Projects view, click down into my Cloud AI deployment project, take another look at my Narratives tab, and all of this information here will now match exactly what I had in Project Online. Okay, so very easy to kind of pull any metadata in that you need to against your projects, your programs, or whatever it is that we're looking to do. Okay, so hopefully that's kind of seems fairly straightforward. Appreciate if you've not seen the new system before, buttons might be in strange places and things like that. But the whole concept is behind importing projects. You download your Microsoft project file for the schedule, you import that, and then you overlay the data from Excel onto the top of it. That's then within the system ready for any type of reporting and things that we want to off the back of it. Cool. So that's projects. Next thing that we'll take a look at just quickly is control logs as well. So things like risks, issues, and everything like that. So just jump back into Project Online and we'll talk about this briefly just before we kind of go into it. Now, where are risks and issues and other control logs held within Project Online? They are all held within what's known as the project site. So I can just click on that there without bothering to wait for it to load. I've already got it open here, so I'll just come to this one. And on the left-hand side, you can see here I'm currently on my risks list. for this project, I have 2 risks with a title, a description, due date, things like that. I also have some issues as well, so 2 issues as well. Now, given the scenario which we just did, where we have kind of that, that central project list, I can export that and I can import it. That's not a problem. With this, there's a slight difference because every project has a separate library. Okay, separate project site, separate logs. So if I was to export this risk list just by clicking export to Excel along the top, I absolutely could use that to import it. At that point, however, I've obviously got to do it 1 project at a time. Not so bad when you've got 10 projects. If you've got hundreds or even thousands of projects, it can obviously at that point start taking a very, very long time and be very tedious. So how do we get around that? Well, we do exactly the same thing that I showed you for projects. We have an Excel report. Down the bottom here, I've got another tab called Risks Report. Very simply, just returns that data from Project Online and pulls it in. You can see here, I've got 2 risks for the Agile project deployment, 3 for Azure Logic App, 2 apologies. I think our office internet just dropped. I don't know how long it dropped for, but I think we're back. So yes, I could have used that time to do some stuff in the background, but I promise I haven't. So yeah, what I was saying, we've got our risks list, our issues list, and in here, if I was to export this to Excel, I would need to do that essentially for every single project which we have. That's not what we want to do. So in that case, I'm just going to look at this Excel report which we've got and use this in exactly the same way to kind of pull that through. Okay, so pulling this information into the system, how do we do that? Well, again, similar to what we did for plans, I can come to my control logs page and I can come into risks. And then from that, what we can do, you can see currently there are no risks within the system. I'm just going to stop sharing and start sharing again, just in case there's any issues with the screen updating. And hopefully that's come through now. So with this on here, we can see that there are no risks in the system currently. So exactly the same thing. I can come in, open it from Excel. Within Excel, I can highlight these sections here, copy. I could do it for all of them. I'll just do a subsection here, copy those, paste them into here, and then hit save. If I wanted to, I could start playing around with this as well, update any of the information which I need, save that, and again, that's going to go away and import those risks. Okay, I'm not going to bother tracking the progress for this one. We'll go straight ahead and do some issues as well. Issues, exactly the same scenario. I'm just going to quickly go back to my control logs, come into issues, click the 3 dots, open in Excel Online, and again, from the Project Online report, I can highlight some of these, or all of them, copy them, paste them in, save that, and that's then going to go away and track, and I'll be able to track that progress. Okay, so the risks and the issues have now essentially, for any projects which I need to, or all projects, been imported. Now with this, it does take obviously a couple of minutes behind the scenes to do those validation checks. Like I said, what we do have the ability to do is, see that track progress thing came up. There is kind of an import job view which we can check. I can see here that was my projects one where 5 was completed successfully. Risks, I imported 5 have been successfully completed, and the issues, there's a total of 3. There we go, that's now completed, and 3 have been pulled in successfully. So if I jump back into the system, take another look at my risks, there they are. Okay, and again, if I go into issues, I can see those three here. Again, with these, I can drill down into them. You can see all of the information's been added into the form, and I can carry on updating it as I need. Okay, so all of those risks and issues from the entire system can be done on bulk in one big import. Okay, so that's project metadata, risks, issues, so control logs, documentation, very similar thing. It's just SharePoint, so we can just copy that across. The other thing which we might want to pull over is our resource pool. So how do we do that? Again, you've probably guessed already, we're just going to use Excel. So within Project Online, I'm going to go to my resource center here, make sure I have no filters and no grouping on this, and I'm just going to simply click Export to Excel. Okay, clicking on that, what do I want to do? I want to save it, and I'm going to save it into my webinar folder. That's fine. Hit save, and I'm then going to open that file up in Excel. So that's opened over here. Okay, so here's my resources all exported from the system. Now, with this, obviously there might be some columns here that I don't need. There's potentially other columns that I do want. We can just do it as a report if needed, or we can modify the view. But we'll go with this just to show you kind of another way without using a report to kind of export the data. And then within the new world, go to my empty resources table. Okay, on here, exactly the same thing. Click the three dots, open it in Excel Online, and then I'm just simply going to start pasting in all of the different things that we've got. Okay, some of these resources are generic, so paste that in. Picked up that is. I can come in, paste in the resource ID, and it might be that we don't have role in the old system, so I'm actually going to come in and set that manually. Okay, I'm a PM, Malvin is business analyst, PMO, project manager. Okay, again, hit save on that. That's going to go away and start importing all of those resources as well. We again get this track progress. We can either track it on here or directly in the table itself. This just opens it up as a pop-up. There's 6 lines that we've kind of given it to process. It's going to go through them, make sure that there's no validation issues with that, transform it, and then pull them in as well. Okay. So I won't bother clicking refresh too many times. Oh, I will. There we go. I'm impatient. It's completed already. 6 successes. Okay. And then just hit refresh on that. There's my data come through. I can then filter for just my generic resources if I want to. Apply that filter, business analyst, project manager, etc. Okay, so all of that data has then come through. And again, any other data that you've added into Project Online, we can pull that in exactly the same way. Okay. So hopefully that just gives you a bit of an idea around kind of, that migration approach that's typically taken, just to give you kind of a bit of an idea around kind of see how much data you can realistically pull in. I think the largest migration that I personally have done into this new world is 2,800-ish projects, with risks, issues, costs, everything like that, all kind of pulled in. I think that's probably one of the largest ones that I have done. Project Online obviously starts to have issues over a certain number of projects, typically 2,000, due to it being based on SharePoint. We don't have that issue within the new world, but yeah, the scale and everything obviously does make a difference on time taken. However, if you're following that approach of just making sure that the data's lined up and consistent, I've done one Excel import before, which was 480,000 lines of timesheet data, and that got imported successfully in probably about 45 minutes. So it doesn't take too long. It's more just making sure that the data's all there, ready to go. And obviously, once that data's all been pulled in, what can we then do? Immediately off the back of it, we can obviously start looking at reports. So let me just come in, refresh this Power BI report, which should hopefully, fingers crossed, be looking at the system. We can come in and see here now that I have my Cloud AI deployment project. It's the only one which I actually imported any tasks for. So I can see that, we've got 11 overdue tasks, 4% complete. Portfolio risks reports as well. We can kind of come in and see all of that. I've got my risks here. It is Power BI, so I can just click on any of these sections to filter as we need, and then also issues as well coming through too. So we can see that as well. Okay. So yeah, as soon as it's imported, Power BI reports and everything like that will start to kind of show that data as it is from the new system. Okay. So that's kind of everything I wanted to show. Just before I kind of hand back to Charlie, just want to kind of talk through some kind of key considerations to kind of bear in mind with all of this. Obviously, if yes, you are coming from Project Online, obviously this migration approach can apply to any other systems that you might be on as well. But if you're coming from Project Online, the key one to bear in mind is obviously that 30th of September date. Okay, so the retirement of Project Online. You will not be able to access Project Online after that date. So, it is kind of crucial that you at least get all of the information off of the system that you need to keep. And obviously, make sure you plan enough time to migrate to a new system, whether it is something still within Microsoft 365 or not. But yeah, make sure that you've got the time there. With regards to kind of what to migrate, a lot of the time people just go, this is what we're currently using. Let's stick with that. Obviously, I think it's always a good time to actually review your requirements and what you actually need from a PPM tool when you're doing your migration. Sometimes it's even a good idea to cut down on columns and things that you realize aren't needed. The key kind of thing is if you're reporting on it for any reason, then it's likely useful. To give you an idea on this, obviously here you can see there's a whole load of information against this project details tab within this demo environment which I've got here. I just wanted to pull up another example of a kind of site just to give you kind of that idea of you can really cut it down. This is quite a lot of information. Typically, a lot of organizations will have this much data against it. However, you could potentially get away with something like this. This is still a project. It's just a cut down system. In here, we've got the name of the project, status, who the project manager is, delivery lead, what client or program it belongs to, and whether it's eligible for R&D claims. Okay. On here, that's essentially all of the project level info we've got. We've got status reports where we can still kind of log, what we've done last week, what we plan on doing next week. We can add new ones to it. So, last week we said we were going to do that this week. Have we actually done it, or do I need to change it? Are we now amber or red? If we are, what's the return to green date and the actions and things like that? But you don't need to necessarily stick with what you have. You can definitely cut it down as well. And going to a new system often a very good time to review that. And then finally, I think another key thing, just from me before I hand back to Charlie, is actually around what data you are migrating. Now, again, focusing on Project Online. Yes, the system and the platform is kind of being retired and you won't be able to access it, but that doesn't mean that you won't be able to necessarily report on the information if you take it out before that date. You could, for example, export everything and have that backed up somewhere and still report on that through the use of Power BI. Now, given that, there's generally three kind of key options which we see people choose between. Are you going to import absolutely everything and migrate absolutely everything, both historic and current projects and data? Do you just want to migrate current data, so in progress projects, and maybe archive all of your historic project data, still available in reporting, but not bring it into the new system? And finally, do you just want to start completely from scratch in the new system with no historic data and keep all of that historic data separate, archived, but again, still kind of reportable? Obviously, that assumes that everything within Project Online will have finished by the retirement date, but yeah, that's kind of another option as well. Okay. I think that's everything from me. Hopefully that's been useful just to kind of, show you essentially the process of exporting things. As long as we've got the data, we can import it from Excel, import it from MPP. And yeah, hopefully it doesn't look too daunting and kind of you can see how it can be done. But yeah, I'll hand back to Charlie.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ollie. Let me just bring that up. Brilliant. So yes, thank you very much, Ollie, for taking us through that. Hopefully that was useful to see essentially a live migration of how we get data from Project Online into the new world. Now, I just want to touch on briefly around what we have actually been showing. So I've been saying the words Microsoft Planner and also the Power Platform, and of course we're a Microsoft partner. Now, what we do as a business is we support organizations by deploying a pre-configured Microsoft Power Platform solution that serves as an enterprise-grade project and portfolio management solution, which does leverage Microsoft Planner for the scheduling side of things. We call this Project Solution Pro, or PSP for short. Some of the key benefits of PSP and reasons why many customers are taking this on board. Firstly, it is just a one-off cost to deploy. It is deployed and hosted entirely within your Microsoft 365 tenant. So from a data security standpoint, IT teams are usually smiling from ear to ear. It is also fully customizable to your specific requirements. The reason for that is due to the low code, no code nature of the Power Platform. But what that also means is, number one, we can actually train you or key admin users on how to configure and manage the tool, but it opens the door to true scalability and allowing the tool to evolve as your requirements evolve over time. And lastly, it does utilize strictly Microsoft technology. So there is no third-party code, I suppose, or if you like, within this. And Microsoft Copilot AI is now integrated in this. Appreciate AI being a big buzzword at the moment, and a lot of organizations are wanting to utilize that, especially when it comes to the project management side of things. So PSP does have that embedded as well. Licenses. So just to give a little bit of clarity around what the Microsoft licenses are with Project Online to what they will need to be for the new world, of course, if this approach is of interest to you. Currently with Microsoft Project Online, as a user, you would either need to have a Planner and Project Plan 3 or 5. In the new world, there is a couple licenses to take into consideration. For the Microsoft Planner Premium Schedule Access, a user would either need a Planner Plan 1 license or a Planner and Project Plan 3. The key difference between a Plan 1 and a Plan 3 comes down to just a few different bits of advanced capabilities that a Plan 3 has that a Plan 1 doesn't, things such as critical path or advanced dependencies. Secondly is the Power Platform licenses, Power App per app being the main one. So that license would give you access to the core solution that we've taken you through today. And lastly, but most certainly not least, is Power BI Pro, which is included in Microsoft 365 E5 licenses. If you do have that, you've already got that, but that would give a user access to view the reports within Power BI. But please do note, Power BI does also have the capability of exporting, so not every user may need that license as well. Brilliant. Now, just touch on a little bit around how we typically approach delivery and actually deploying Project Solution Pro. We would firstly start with, of course, initial discussions, deep dive demo, understand where you're at currently. If you're using Project Online, let's have a look at the system. What parts of it are you using? If you are happy to then move forward with PSP, we would start with a discovery phase, looking at low-level design workshops, so getting into the detail of what the system design needs to be. Is it a complete replication of what's in Project Online, or is there enhancements we can make as well? We would then move into the build phase, so us actually configuring any elements that we need to. Then the data migration, so doing data mapping, so what Ollie's taken us through today from Projects Online into PSP, training with end user and admin training, so touching on the fact that it's that low code, no code nature, and then also training videos or user guides if that would be of interest. And lastly, we do support with annual support services. So if you are looking for that SLA-based support, we can support with that post go live as well. Wonderful. Well, that takes us right to the end of our series. So 3 sessions, this being, of course, the last one. We hope it's been very useful, and we would be super keen to talk with some of you to understand where you're at currently, especially if you are using Projects Online. As we say, time is going very fast. We've got less than a year now. So if you are using Projects Online, please do get in touch and we can have a chat through and see what we could potentially do. But wonderful, thank you very much. If there are any questions, feel free to put them into chat. We'll stick about for another 5-10 minutes or so. But thank you all and have a wonderful day. Cheers.